Good morning. It's ready. Are you ready? We're ready for episode 11. We're here with Dean. Wave your hand there, Dean. Massachusetts, grade 5 through 8. And also we got Chris. Hello, Chris. How you doing? In Dudley Middle School. And my name is Josh Dawat, proud principal of Memorial Pathway Academy, grades 6 through 12. So let's get started on today's topic of diversity.
Josh, great work, my man. How are you doing? Good to see you. It's been a long week, and we're ready to really dig in and talk about something that is near and dear to all of us, and it's a hot topic across the nation, and as how we look at schools handle empathy and diversity within their schools. So first and foremost, good morning to you. I hope things are doing well down in Texas, and I know up here in the Northeast we're coming out of a snowstorm, and we have a little sun today, Chris, which is pretty good. Thank God.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice warm day. It might hit about 40 degrees, and we got 6 to 9 inches on the way for tomorrow. So Super Bowl Sunday is going to be a nice day of shoveling and then relaxation to watch the big game. Yeah. That's for sure.
The Polar Express up here. So, hey, let's dig in. Let's warm this place up a little bit. So empathy and diversity, guys, we talk about it, and, and at the middle level, it's so important to be able to embed those hot topics into our curriculum in certain areas to help kids grow and understand. I know as a principal, oftentimes on Tuesdays, I use our social emotional day where we talk about topics to help kids expand their mindset. But in your schools, what are some of the things you're doing to really to plant the seeds of empathy and understanding of diversity? And Josh, why don't we start off with you?
I think that there's two things that need to be established as someone that sits in my chair. And I need to make sure that I always, and I mentioned this before 2 podcasts ago, that it's crucial that every morning as the leader of that chair at my campus, that I establish the norms of procedures, of treating each other, of school policies and procedures that might affect the learning aspect of the classroom environment. So it's always important that I talk to my students in regards to what the expectations are for treating each other, expectations in the classroom, in a positive way always, not in a scolding way, but this is what I expect from you. It's crucial that we respect each other because I always emphasize you're the future of America. You will be leading when we're gone. So this is laying the foundation of what your leadership style will be when treating others. And I'm a high proponent on using social media to make sure that whatever is out there, we just had Holocaust Week. I posted a lot of things on social media, Hispanic Heritage Month, African American. It's always crucial to not just do the superficial, but really dive into those topics during that window of time, but maintaining the memory. So right now during Black History Month, I've been tying in things that I covered with the Holocaust Week. I've been tying in past lessons. It's not the university where we just learn a topic and move on to the next exam. It's about teaching them about life.
Yes.
And most importantly, that they will be leading this country. And if we don't remind them that we are humans, and we don't remind them that the world can be an ugly place, they will be repeating the mistakes of the past. So those 2 things are the things that I believe, myself, my humble opinion, is to always make sure that you set the expectations for each other in the classroom and on campus, lower down the discipline referrals. And second part, use social media because you know what? That's our customer. Our customer lives on social media. If you're not on social media, you're still checking out videos at Blockbuster.
Absolutely.
So you need to stop that whole thing about, oh, I don't do that. Oh, I don't want them following my life. You know what? Our customers and their parents are on social media.
They sure are.
You need to reach out and let them know that you're there for them and what your expectations are as a leader.
Josh, Absolutely. How do you take that message? And sorry, Chris, I'll get right back to you. How do you take that message from your seat and get it embedded and get into the hands of your teachers in the building to carry it? I know social media is a great platform, but as principals, we set the seeds for the day. There's no doubt about it. We do that in our morning messages, trying to get that theme set. but it kind of dovetails into culture. It kind of dovetails into, that same like mindset from everybody who's on your team in that building to be able to carry those words that you're talking about. How does that work in your school?
It lends itself a lot in the current campus that I'm at. It's a small school. I came from a 6A school in Texas. We call it 6A, which is over 2,000 students. So from 2,500 to 300, radical change. But I've also been in an elementary and a middle school. Those numbers are 500, 600, 700 at the most. And those small buildings allow me to make sure that I walk into every classroom every day. Mm-hmm. Just a drive-by. A drive-by, because the most important thing for someone that sits in our chair is visibility.
Yeah.
Every day that we establish those norms, every time that we contact our kids in the hallway, our team leaders, as they're expecting them during transition time in there, that's where we build those relationships and set the expectations.
I think one of the most important elements of, the ideas of empathy and diversity in schools is really focusing in that character education trumps, in some ways, the standards and the curriculum, because we need to develop and cultivate really solid humans. We have to cultivate and create communicators and thinkers, kids who can engage with one another. And, the ability for kids to understand the feelings of others and experience the feelings of others at a high level is really what we want. We want them to be in their shoes. And in this world that we're in, with so many cultures coming together, so many experiences coming together as one, our kids are no longer in isolation, albeit, we're in remote learning. But the idea of really getting into that element of character education is really important. And Josh, I really loved what you said about linking in those themes. When we've got a diversity week about a certain culture or a certain experience from history, linking those experiences together really helps our kids understand how the world is interconnected. Not necessarily how history repeats itself, but how important it is to understand the connections that exist from culture to culture, experience to experience. And that's really what's going to drive our kids forward when we sit down and think about that. We just had counseling week, as you know, school counselor week. Shout out to the DMS, CMS counselors again. We had a great experience discussing things on Middle Marvels on Tuesday night. But this was a week where I was able to really focus the morning announcements on the role of the school counselor and how important they are to unlocking things like empathy. And to a lot of folks, empathy is often confused with sympathy. Wow, that's a difficult situation. You must feel really, bad about that. That's not what empathy is. Empathy is about sharing an absolute understanding and a perspective and walking in those shoes and being able to directly relate to the emotions that others are going through. And, our counselors are amazing at that. So I think the key to unlocking empathy and diversity in schools is having everybody on the team understanding that we rely on everybody else on the team to help us move forward. It can't be done in isolation.
No, it can't. And you think about it, within the four walls, of every classroom, you have an obligation to be able to steer it and have those discussions that are deep and that lead to understanding. I sometimes think about, okay, when the kids leave school and we're talking about empathy and diversity and what that looks like, they then go to social media where there's no boundaries. Yeah. And they can say what they want and do what they want. So again, we have a real responsibility as educators, as leaders within the schools, especially I'll say at the middle level, but it could be at the elementary and the high school level as well, to plant the seeds of understanding that there's got to be some sort of decorum to understand, to be able to set the parameters for what is right for society today. And to me, that is just so important. And being a past history teacher, Josh, you said it, those who don't learn their history repeat history. And it's plain and simple. And it's what we have to think about as all players in this game to help kids understand. There's no doubt about it. So again, as you start talking about that, let's look under the lens of diversity and the different types of diversities that we all deal with.
I had a situation come up a couple of days ago, and it hit me in my face. And these are the kind of conversations that sometimes are very awkward or uncomfortable to have with the adults. So I had a young man come in from El Salvador, And sixth grade, we understand sixth grade, correct? I forgot what sixth grade was about, being in high school for so long, all right? I forgot the dynamics, but I'm getting back into it. I used to be a middle school teacher. And then he started messing around, like ha ha ha, pushing each other, sixth grade stuff, right? With a young man from Mexico. Well, that led to words being exchanged. Still, when you come from a high school, you're like, well, hold on, calm down. It's not. But you see, this is where I'm going with this. The young man from El Salvador was using words, Spanish, that were offensive to the kid from Mexico. Mm. So to him, it wasn't offensive in his version,
his culture,
as compared to the Mexican culture. Exactly. And so that almost became, I mean, they're 1'1", 110 pounds soaking wet. They weren't that big. But that's not the point. The point is that those are the kind of conversations that I needed to realize.
Yeah.
That I have to have with the adults there, so that they're aware of the dynamics of vocabulary. And sometimes some people might not know that because they don't know the language as it is to begin with, like I do. So we need to open up our team members' eyes and be aware that it's very crucial that we're always listening to their conversations. And so this one just got away, but to me, that was an eye-opener about when you have such a diverse group, because I have students from Vietnam. I've got students from the Middle East. I've got students from Central America, from Mexico. So from all the world, all within the same hallway. Mm. So those are the kind of things that we need to be over. We cannot overlook the dynamics of language and culture.
I think that's a really good point. As we sit down and the idea of understanding different triggers and different different cultural perspectives, as well as the perspectives of various diversities. We've got kids, while we might not be racially diverse in our district, we do have some varying racial experiences, but we're really socioeconomic differences. And one of the biggest elements that we run into at times is a lack of awareness of individual student and individual family needs. We can't assume that kids are going home, to a square meal at dinner time. We can't assume that they're going to be with their families on the weekend, engaging in activities that are enriching. And we can't assume that everybody's going to be able to come into school on Monday morning ready to go. We know that there are problems that are out there. So we have to greet every kid where they're at that point in time and make sure that they know that we have their backs and we understand that there are triggers and they just can't leave their bags at the front door when they walk into our building. We've got to greet them. We've got to embrace them. We've got to let them know that we've got their situation under control.
And that's not always it's not easy because you can't get into the heads of kids sometimes. We like to think that we know where they're at. We know that we should have zero boundaries when it comes to educating kids. We all understand that. But in order to have, when you think about your barrier or who you are as a person and how it can impact your learning, more importantly, from a middle level lens, we all know in this room right now, the most important thing for a child is to be able to fit in and feel comfortable with his or her peers. Okay. That's a whole nother ball game of understanding for kids. And that in itself is a level of diversity because kids are at different places. So, having those conversations with faculty members and trying to get them to understand that every child's different is very difficult at times because it takes a special platform to do that. And it's not to take away that they can't visualize to see that everyone's different. It's the internal part of understanding that every child comes from a different place. Every child has different challenges. Every child has different opportunities. So again, what do those conversations look like in your school, Josh? How do you get that message to your staff?
I think the crucial part is that someone that sits in our chair has to establish the tone by role modeling expectations, by making sure that we say, provide this environment. Well, what are you doing, Josh, to provide that environment for everybody? Yeah. What are you doing as someone that sits in your chair to provide the Linus blanket to make everyone feel comfortable, not the custodian, cafeteria workers, crosswalk, everybody? What are you doing? So it's very important that within the campus, I continue the patterns of behavior of creating a warm climate. So, for example, we have an expectation that every Friday at my former campus, it was every Wednesday, we celebrate students, irregardless of. You constantly celebrate students. At the end of every month, the team members send out thank you cards to the kids for whatever kind of improvement. We mail it out to them. And so that's one of those things where the kids want to feel accepted in there, and they're more prone to listening to the adults, and the adults connect to the kids because the kids go to them and say, Dean, thank you for the card that you sent me. And kids walk around with those thank you cards in their binders, reminding them that someone cared about them. So for me, it's role modeling what the expectation is of a vision of creating a climate that creates a culture of student success. So to me, it's by saying, hey, okay, guys, this is the week that we do this. All right, guys, this Friday, this is what we do. Setting patterns of behavior. The patterns of behavior are both positive and not positive. But if we want a great culture, it's establishing those where we connect with kids.
Closing the loop. I love it.
Yeah, the creation of the rituals and routines around respect, responsibility, and culture really does thump that drum about, empathy and diversity, because you're honoring the individual for where they're at and what their improvement was. You're not saying every child achieved the bar. You're saying Johnny achieved the bar today, Sally achieved this level. And they're all at different levels, but their achievements are individual, and they may have overcome mountains to get to the level that they're at, even though they might not be where everybody else is, and I think honoring that individual ability, that individual perspective, as opposed to something like the honor roll, where we average everything together over time and we post that as the measure of success. Not really what the kids who struggle with academics need. The kids need to know that they were able to socialize well with their peers, and the teacher recognized that, and that was a goal. That's huge. That's absolutely huge. We sit down and look at kids who struggled last year when they came into our building as fifth graders, that transition year. And now in sixth grade, when they're sitting in the classrooms and they're able to hold it together for 3 continuous class periods before a little mini blow up, when last year they might have had 7 or 8 blow ups in that same time span. That's victory. That is true growth. That is true achievement. Recognizing and honoring those perspectives, is absolutely key. I appreciate how you brought that to the table, Josh, in terms of, the recognition of kids and their efforts. More importantly, though, when the teachers recognize that effort in the kids, and the kids hear the teacher give them that praise, that's like the world, man. Because the teachers are superstars. They're rock stars. They're heroes to a lot of kids, and that just drives the kids forwards even more. It's an ultimate level of respect.
I've noticed recently that due to the rewiring of all of us in education, we're this disease made us become something different. And I believe, and a lot of our profession is being maligned across the United States. But let me tell you, when you don't work on that side of it, as it is, education was a difficult trade, because people don't understand about the young man that lives in a trailer with 15 people next to the person that has a car.
Yep.
They don't understand that. They don't understand what it is to be held accountable for your state assessment. They don't know what it is to be held accountable for the different personalities in the room. They don't understand that. But now you inject this disease, it has created normal. I don't like the new normal. It's normal. This normal now, us in education, I think that we've come to realize that, hey, we are here to help kids. And I don't like what's being said out there about our classroom instruction team members, because you know what? A lot of our team members are saying, you know what? I'm going to do extra. You know why I'm going to do extra? Because I know I haven't missed a paycheck, but I know my students have missed paychecks. Yep. I know that I still have had insurance. I have insurance, and they say this to us. They say this to me. I've had insurance, But you know what? I know for a fact that that family has been couch surfing. Remember, America, remember, state of Massachusetts, Florida, Texas, everybody, the classroom instruction is now taking on a new cross to carry on their shoulders. And you know what? We are stepping up. We are caring for our students because we understand not only the ethnical part of this, but also the social economic aspect of this. Are there outliers? In everything, there are outliers. In everything, in everything. But you know what? Know that educators understand what your children are going through, and right now it's above and beyond. So I always give thumbs up to the classroom instruction teacher that is teaching face to face, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and virtual.
Mm-hmm.
Kudos to them, because you know what? Us as educators, we understand what's out there.
Love it. Hey, let's pivot and do this. Let's look at it this way. The lens of empowerment of kids. How do we empower kids to be able to articulate and understand empathy and diversity? Again, we teach, we set seeds, we model, we do all the things we're supposed to do in education. What are some methods or some ideas that we could just kind of toss around about empowering students to kind of take the lead? I mean, you think about it for a second, the most powerful learning is when it's done by yourself and you work through the stages of it. I mean, I would love to envision my kids getting up and coming into my office in the morning and giving that message and saying, hey, this is what I think that we should be doing as kids. Psychologically, that's difficult because they're amongst their peers and they got to fight that undertow. Okay. But as adults, we can embrace that and run with this. So through that lens of empowerment of students, what do you think? What are some things we could try to do?
Yeah, just real quick, off the rip, we're a middle school that runs from ages 10 to 14, and everything that we do, we rely on great modeling. By the time the kids are 8th graders, we have an expectation that they are leaders of the building and that they are modeling appropriate behavior and interactions with our 5th grade kiddos, our 6th grade kiddos, and our 7th graders who are going to be taking over their legacy. And I think we need to do a better job at embracing that, and making sure that every child that walks in not only knows the expectations that we set, Josh, that you described so well before, but what we do is we ask our kids to now model and embrace it and start acting that. We need to set up mentoring experiences. We need to set up opportunities for our 8th grade kiddos or high school kiddos to come back and tutor and visit classrooms, not after school, but during the school day. We need to go ahead and have opportunities for mixed grade level lunches, and during recess time, having an 8th grade kid go out and work with the 5th graders on how you can effectively play activities during the playground time. How can you pick teams? How do you know how to do those types of things? Those real world skills that we all had growing up because we didn't have devices to sit down and socialize with. We need the kids to understand how they can interact outside that classroom environment effectively and embrace those communication skills. And
how do you do that in the box that we're in right now, though, Chris? We're talking about redefining and reimagining. We've said this a million times. It's time. It is now time to be able to look at those things and really redevelop the thought process.
Yeah, and again, I'm gonna leave with this. It's not up to the system to change. It's up to individuals in the system to have the courage to make some change. And by that I mean, if we're saying we've got to go from class 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 in order, and we have walls of time that we have as a barrier, we need to be able to break that down and just say, you know what? The standards are the standards. Kids need authentic experiences in order to be able to engage in them. And I'm not suggesting that we blow up our entire instructional model and our learning model and we go complete Montessori at the middle school and go complete experiential. But there are opportunities for us to do that. And folks have to have the courage to be able to take those authentic ideas and put the charge with the kids. Teachers don't need to be the leaders of the classroom.
Nope. Facilitators
of that content. Let the kids explore, let the kids dive in, and let them figure out how to get from point A to point Z. It might take them 26 weeks. That's fine. It might take others 3. That's fine. But they'll still be learning along the way, and there might be more opportunities for socialization, empathy, understanding diversity, embracing culture, and then driving emotion and mental connections to one another. Anyway, that's enough from me.
What a concept.
I was just thinking of your question, and since all 50 states are at different levels of allowing kids into the classroom, and then the apprehension by our parents, you have it, I have it. Every principal across the country has those barriers right now. Now that the vaccine is being rolled out, still there's a barrier. People don't believe in it. People do believe in it. We have to deal with all of that.
Yeah.
Everything that is on the news, we deal with the ripple effects. You cast a stone in water and it creates ripples. Well, we're part of that ripple in public education.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, based on the question that you asked, I would just infer that it's one of those things where every day that you are in the classroom and you interact with those kids, the 3 or 4 minutes is that you do that coaching on the side. You know what I'm talking about. When the play is over, you pull that athlete off the field, and if it wasn't a successful play, you coach him. You coach him on the sideline. You say, this is what you did wrong. So when you're in a classroom, that's where we coach the discipline and respect aspect of it. When you see, hey, what should you say? Hey, that little girl gave you that. What should you say? Because you know what? Believe it or not, I don't appreciate when, as educators, say, well, they should already know that. No, they don't.
No, they don't.
They don't know about shaking
They're
hands.
kids. They're
They
kids.
don't know about, may I sit down? They don't know about opening the door. They don't know about that. Well, their parents should. No. We are the baseline. And we cannot assume, for agreements, we can't assume that they come to us 100% prepared. So every day, to me, to answer your question, right now, during the current environment that we're in, it's having those coaching sessions with kids, just going down to the side, not getting too close, whatever you say. Hey, I like that you did that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Right. That's all it takes sometimes.
That's all it does. And
that's all it takes.
That establishes what? The climate. And if they do that in classroom A, classroom B, classroom C, then we just created a culture.
Yep. You know, Chris, you said something earlier that I really liked is, yes, we have structured learning time. We're responsible for a certain amount of time teaching kids. In our schools, in my school specifically, we have no bells. Okay. You got a 60-minute block of time. We empower the teachers to have the authority to be able to mix and match and meet the structured learning time. That in itself, when you don't have a bell saying, okay, 50 minutes is up, move to class, you've got power. You've got power to drive a learning train. And I love that. We also have power to be thinking outside the box and reconnecting from a social emotional level, how we can have kids help kids become better. That's building that internal infrastructure of learning and going from good to great. That excites me. That really does. And again, that's changing our mindsets as leaders to say, okay, we don't have to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G and follow a 50-minute bell. You got 2 minutes to get to class. You better run. You better get there. Forget it. It's a learning community. Remember, learning community. And what that means, there are opportunities that pop up every day to become better. I love that. This conversation on a Saturday morning is always something that I leave saying, I'm going in Monday and thinking about new ways. I can't just change overnight, but I'm thinking about ways on what tomorrow can look like. Seriously, great stuff. Yeah. Great stuff.
You know, just one closing thought, and it rounds out something that you know, both Josh and Dean and hit on. It's a quote from Wooden, which, you know, go figure, a basketball quote coming back around here. But, you know, reputation is what others see. Character is who you are. And to Josh's point, we want to be able to train our kids or teach our kids what's acceptable, what's not acceptable in certain environments. And we want them all to have an exceptionally high level of character, and we want their reputation to match. We don't want there to be any disconnect. And that really starts with the building leadership. But quite honestly, it starts with the building leadership, having folks who work in the building embrace that as a priority topic every single day. You got to like people. You got to love kids. You got to understand that there is more to the job than content. And that's just my close on empathy and culture and diversity.
And as Collins would say, we're not going to get to great unless we face the issues that we have at hand that are keeping us at good. And that's where sometimes some of my peers, don't have the wherewithal to have those awkward conversations when it comes down to students in their classrooms. And that's why it's important that whoever's seeing this podcast, this video on Twitter, remember, it's not just the aspect of positive in our schools, because then we would all be great. It's about facing the awkward things, or that's how we've always done it. These kids, well, with that mentality, we will always be good. We will never be great. And if we're great, all our kids are great. If we maintain the status quo, we'll keep kids at good or below. That's for us. When we sit in that chair, we need to have the wherewithal to support, create, but also face the challenges. That will make us great.
I love it, man. Hey, listen, there's nothing better than spending time with you guys on a Saturday morning and just digging into the weeds about all the things that really strike us right in between our eyes when we walk into our schools each and every day. Hey, listen, quick shout out to Joe, who's not with us today. I look forward to seeing him next week. He's tackling things that the administrators do as well. And listen, this is a tough topic, empathy and diversity. We appreciate your time this morning, Josh and Chris. And, we're a little better because of this conversation. There's no doubt about that. So, hey, so Sunday night, we're going to be off. We're not going to be doing our flagship show only because it's Super Bowl Sunday. However, we will have a super replay section every hour. We will have our shows going, streaming live. Take a look at them. We've had some amazing topics that we've discussed, and we really look forward to getting back in the seat on Tuesday night with Middle Marvel. But other than that, listen, on behalf of Josh, Chris, and myself, we hope you have a wonderful Saturday afternoon. Listen, keep striving to get better. And as we do this here at Unlock the Middle, we really enjoy the opportunity to converse, dig in, and learn about things that make us all better. That's all we have for today. We hope you have a great weekend, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you Tuesday night.
Just closing words, Bucks 38, Kansas City 35.
Is that your call? Josh, what do you got?
Call.
What are you calling?
I got to go with the GOAT. I'm sorry. I don't care as long as he wins.
Going with the GOAT as well. Tampa Bay 30. I'll say Kansas City, we're going to go 24.
Tampa Bay with the sweep on Unlock the Middle. Wonderful.
There you go. All right, guys. Have a great day. Until next Saturday. Take care.
Bye-bye.